Hello again. When I was looking at the last video that I did, and I was showing you with excitement those pages, those illuminated pages, it occurred to me that I should certainly mention the Book of Kells. There's really nothing like it, I don't think. It doesn't belong in the medieval period even, in the medieval period. It's Irish. And it comes from about 800 AD. As I say, there's really nothing like it. It's such a spectacular example of what can be done with writing. I think in the Wikipedia article, where you can see pages of it if you want, well, you can see it a lot of places, it was saying that it's been considered Ireland's finest national treasure. And I could maybe take this occasion also to point out that when the Dark Ages were there and civilization basically collapsed in Northern Europe, it was kept alive in Ireland, and it gradually worked its way back from Ireland as well as up from Spain. That Irish connection is something I always leave out. I skim across stuff, and it was important. So the Book of Kells, and a tip of the hat to Ireland for keeping civilization alive. All right, going on now. This is still classics of the Elizabethan period, and we come to Shakespeare. There is an abbreviation for William Shakespeare. Now there's a lot of doubt about who this man really was. Was his name really William Shakespeare? He had 7 different ways, I think, that he autographed things. Supposedly he's from Stratford-on-Avon, but there's a lot of doubt about it. And I had mentioned already, just a little while ago, that there's a movie out currently called Anonymous, which fairly strongly, which is somewhat convincing that Shakespeare was this other guy, and I can't sort all the history out. In my mind, I don't think they're ever going to know for sure, but sounds harsh to say, who cares? What's important is somebody gave us that work. Somebody. And it was probably just one person, although some people say, no, that had to be a committee. He's probably the most famous writer ever. Unless you want to include religious figures like Muhammad as a writer, or Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, or Paul. Short of them, let me say that maybe secular writer. Probably the most famous. It's easy to think, well, that's because I speak English. That's why I think that. There's other writers, Molière in France and Goethe in Germany, but I think he might be. He certainly was a genius. There's just no doubt about that. You look at his collection of works and his vocabulary, there's just nobody really quite like him. And he wrote about 150 sonnets. I say QV, that's because when I taught verse, terms of verse, I showed you what a sonnet was and quoted a Shakespearean sonnet, the one that started, that time of year thou mayest in me behold, when yellow leaves and on it went. And I quoted a sonnet of my own. But he's not best known for that. He also wrote a long narrative poem, but it's his plays. It's his plays. About 37. Again, there's doubt about some of them. And I should also say that they're not all equally good. But of those 37, there's about 15 or 20 that are really, really good. And actually, these are verse dramas. I.e., it means that is. Verse dramas. He wrote in verse. So this is not normal language. In a way, he had you might call it an unfair advantage over modern-day playwrights who just use normal speech. He was writing poetry. And wonderful stuff it is. They're usually grouped in tragedies, comedies, and histories. And what I plan to do, I think, now, for a while, I'm going to do another video today, and I'll tell you about one of his plays. And then I think each day for a while, I'm going to tell you about one of his plays while I go on to other things. So, come back.